Hi, this is Dr. Womack. So I'm wanting to show you the office. So we're just going to take a quick tour, okay? All right. So when you get to the office, you just come right on in. The first thing that you see is our receptionist. She's shy, just wave, say hi. That's Jaleesa. Then you have the waiting room, which you normally never wait. We have a bathroom here in the lobby. We also have one here in the back. As you go through our office space, we have 3 rooms currently. The first exam room, very standard. And then we have actually our exam room slash IV hydration room. So this is where the patients get to come if they're needing to have some IV hydration. We do the quench therapy. We also do the immunotherapy one, to where we actually give you a really good boost of vitamins. This is our multifunctional room. So we can do exams here. We also do EKGs, blood work. We do women's health, men's health, as well as children. You see here we have our eye chart. And then here towards the back, this is actually my office space. So if you have any questions, you can always give us a call. I'm going to be doing more information related to the office, the space, and the things that we have to offer in a later video. Hi, I'm Dr. Womack, and so you've just had an opportunity to do a tour of my practice. So I bought my practice back in November, and I actually bought the whole building. So I've technically been open for about 2 years at the production of this video. So I'm going to start with number one, why I decided to become a doctor, meaning having my doctorate as a nurse practitioner. Number two, what it's like to own my own practice. And number three, how much you can expect to make if you decide to own your own practice or something similar. Okay. So I never set out to be a doctor. I just wanted to be an LPN. I know I've talked about that in my previous videos, but if you haven't checked it out, then please feel free to go back and check them out. I was a CNA. I was an LPN. Then I became an RN. I got my associates. And then I went back and got my master's. But I did kind of like a bridge program to where you get your master's while you're getting your bachelor's degree at the same time. So my ultimate goal when I finally did decide to go back, because I was like, I'm never doing that. That's not for me. I just really wanted to help more people. At the end of the day, I remember being in a hospital because I started my career actually out in long-term care and nursing homes as a CNA, and then also as an LPN. But then I became an RN. I was a unit manager. So that meant that I had responsibility to oversee the nurses and the CNAs for a 60-bed unit. The facility itself was a total of about 120 beds, but I was on the long-term care side. They had 2 sections, rehab side and long-term care. So I took care of those patients that weren't really expecting to go home and they were living in the facility. I was also a director of nursing over that same facility, which meant I was over all of the nursing part of it. Basically, I had to make sure that we were following policies and procedures, guidelines for the state for ACA. And in addition to that, I had to come up with care plans to make sure that each and every patient was being cared for appropriately, that we had the right treatment plans in place, that we were following the doctor's orders, and we would review that once a month. So it's something I really enjoyed. I feel like it gave me a lot of background in being able to manage in the way that I do, because you have a lot of responsibilities. So I was responsible for hiring and firing people, and it really gave me an opportunity to establish great relationships with my staff. Now that I own my own practice and I'm actually prescribing medications, I'm not necessarily coming up with care plans, but I'm actually the one writing the orders for the patients. Mammograms, CAT scans, ultrasounds, medications. I have my DEA license, so I prescribe narcotics if I need to for patients who have pain or anxiety medications. A lot of times we focus on the non-medication treatment option first, and then but that's a whole nother story that we'll get into later on. So I do have some notes, so I'm going to be looking down. I became a nurse practitioner back in 2018. And I originally, as soon as I was actually, really good story. When I was a student, I'm a very tenacious person. So I would say be tenacious. If you want to be in the healthcare field and you want to have your own practice, or you want to have your own IV hydration, or if you just want to be the best employee ever, at the end of the day, it's really just about providing a greater service for the community and for basically people, humankind, if we want to put it that way. So as soon as I was a student, I was about to graduate and I decided to look for a job, because why not? I didn't want to wait until I was done. And I had put in a few applications, but one day I went into this clinic and I just walked in. I was like, hey, are you guys hiring? And they were like, sure, just send us your resume. And so I ended up getting hired as a student. I didn't have to go through multiple job interviews, and I ended up working in my local community clinic. So I did that for 5 years. I would say about 3 years in, I decided that I did want to have my own practice, but I didn't want to have the overhead of a traditional insurance-based practice. So I didn't want to have to bill insurance and have referrals departments and things like have to have like a referrals section. I didn't want to have a big cost, because for every person that you have in your practice, if you're the owner, you have to pay each and every one of those people, whether or not it's the phlebotomist, receptionist, social worker, the care plan manager, billing. And most people don't know it's in the state of Florida. Even if you're a nurse practitioner and you have autonomous practice, you actually only get billed, or you can only get paid 85% of what the insurance would normally pay a doctor or medical doctor 100%. So that was a really big factor in me choosing to do the route that I did, which is DPC. That's direct primary care. What that means is that my patients have the opportunity to just pay a monthly membership. They have unlimited visits, no office copay, unless if they have labs done, and of course that's separate, but they have significantly discounted labs. So for instance, normally a panel through a major lab corporation might be $600. Well, through me, it's only about $50 or $25. It just depends. If a patient is wanting a full panel, they want their hormones checked and they want their vitamins checked, and then of course it costs more, but it's still about 80 to 90% cheaper still to go through me, and I'm not even billing insurance. So I really like that. In addition to that, I have negotiated prices with community imaging centers. So for instance, you can go to an imaging center that I know and it costs $25, no insurance. Whereas if you go through your insurance, it may cost you about $200 or even $100 copay, or $75. So I really made it my mission to make sure that I'm aware of what's going on in the community in terms of cost for the patients, and also to just make it easy for them. Okay. How many years did I go to school? So I went to school. So for my CNA, I was only went for about 8 weeks. For my LPN, I went for 10 months. For my RN, I went for another 12 months because I did an LPN to RN bridge program. And then for my associates to my master's degree, that took about 2.5 years. And in all of those instances, it was the untraditional route, meaning I didn't go to a 4-year university. I kind of just was like, oh, I can do that to get my associate's degree. I'll do that. I can do this to do my master's. I'll do that. Last year, I actually finished with my doctoral degree, and that took me about 16 months. Most people will say, oh my gosh, you went back and got your I went back because I knew that there was something else for me to learn. And honestly, I was so happy that I did it. Most people will say, well, don't go back for your doctorate's degree because you can't do anything different. Meaning, I'm a nurse practitioner, I can prescribe medications, and I can write orders for things. Having your doctorate's degree in the nursing field doesn't give you any additional scope of practice, meaning you can't do anything more than you did before, unless you're wanting to maybe do teaching or something like that. But for me, it was just really important for me to have it, and I'm so glad I did. Honestly, I learned more about community health nursing. I learned more about evidence-based practice nursing. In addition to that, I went to Frontier University, and they allowed for us to have like a project, and our project for one of our classes was is that we had to create our own practice, and we had to do a cost and analysis and budget sheets and things. I didn't know anything about that. Even though my practice was already open, it really opened my eyes to how much money I was actually saving by going in this route. Because as a DPC nurse practitioner, I don't have to have a huge big practice and all of these different people. It can be just me, which in the beginning it was, or it could be me, my medical assistant, or me, my medical assistant, and a front desk person. So I'm really excited to be able to provide excellent service without having to break the bank in general. My office hours are normally Monday through Friday. We'll just say from 9 to 4. Fridays, I typically get off at about 1:30, but the good thing is it's my practice. I make my own hours. So if I decide to go on vacation, I make sure that all of my patients are situated, they have their medications, and then I send out an email and say, hey, listen, I'm on vacation. Now, granted, some people will say that it's easier to have your own practice. It's not. Easier in the sense to where you can go to work when you feel like it. That's not the case. You still have to have standards for yourself and for your practice. It's easy to say, oh, I'm not going to go to work today because I don't have to. Well, you might have 3 or 4 patients that call and they're like, hey, can I get in? And you're like, oh, I'm on the beach, so I can't be there. Whereas, if you know, hey, I'm open Monday through Friday from 9 to 4, or Monday through Thursday. Now, if you do set hours because you do want to have better hours, so for instance, if you're Monday through Friday from 9 to 12 or 9 to 2, just make sure that you are actually there during those hours, or that you're at least available via phone. Because for my office, it is by appointment only, but most of my patients, not most, some of my patients still do kind of pop by and say, oh, I need a refill on this medication. And I'll say, okay. They have the option to text me. They have the option to email me. I just like to make sure that I'm prepared, because if I do have a patient in the office at that time, if I'm the only one here, then I may not be able to give them as much attention as I would like to, because then I'm having to do multiple things at once. So, but either way it goes, I enjoy being able to have the type of hours that I do. And if, like I said, I do, want to take a day off, then I just take a day off and I make sure that my patients are aware. Well, now that we talked a lot about me and my practice, one of the things that I would like to go into is, how do you get your doctoral degree as a nurse practitioner? Well, it's really, you have a couple different options. You can go the traditional route, which is to go to a 4-year or 6-year university. Get your, number one, you have to have your RN license. So you have to have your associates as an RN, or your bachelor's degree. And then you can go back to a traditional brick and mortar school. That might take between 3 to 4 years, or you can do the non-traditional route, which is what I did, and you can go to places that kind of fast track you. Now, I will say though that when you do go that way, they don't find your preceptors. So what a preceptor is that someone who will actually, almost like a doctor having to have a residency, meaning they have to have that hands-on experience for a couple of years. As a preceptee, you have to find a preceptor, someone who you can actually be with through your rotations. That's pediatrics, women's health, geriatrics, family practice. Some schools make you do an OBGYN rotation, which can be very hard to get into. And you can do acute care. There's so many different areas, and normally the schools vary on how many hours they want you to do. So for instance, my school required 800 hours. So that meant I had to do 800 hours of being with another provider and learning how they do it, to be able to become a nurse practitioner. So I'm really enjoying being able to provide this different level of service to my patients, and also as a preceptor now, because I have students that are preceptor, and showing them and really breaking down what they need to learn to be a better nurse practitioner. I always tell my students whenever they come to my office that my goal is for them at the end of the day to have been able to obtain a good understanding of what the expectation is for when they're done. That's the biggest thing. What am I supposed to do? And it's okay not to know everything. You're not going to know everything. So you need to just know where you're going to find that information. And that's what I show them. So I'm really excited that I've had an opportunity to give you a tour of my office and also to give you some background on me and why I decided to become a nurse practitioner. How much do you make? That's a really good question. It depends. So in the beginning, my membership is about $59 a month, which is subject to change. That can change at any time. But I also do a fee for service, which not all DPC practices do. That means that my patients come in and they just pay one fee and then that's it, just for that visit. So for instance, if you're sick and you come to see me, okay, you can pay one fee and then that's it. Or you can join the membership and have all of those other benefits that we talked about earlier. Unlimited visits, that's your routine visits, sick visits, women's health, men's health, all of those things. So it depends. You can make as much as you want to or as not as much as you want to. If you do a lot more marketing, you're going to have a lot more patients, you're going to be a lot busier, and you're going to make more money. I have other nurse practitioners who have their own practice, and they specialize in functional medicine, or they do weight loss specifically, or IV hydration, which I also offer IV hydration. I didn't think that I was going to do that, but because of just listening to them and how they were doing it, I decided to add that as a service. So you can make as low as 60 to 80,000 if you're not really working too much, or you can make as much as 500,000. I have one nurse practitioner who owns her own practice and she's making $500,000. Or you can make more. You can create more practices. You can, you have a practice here, now you can open one in another city. So it really can be as big or as small as you want it, based on the type of lifestyle that you want to have, how busy you want to be, how hands-on or hands-off you want to be. So it's really up to you. If you have any questions, then you can always put them in the comments, or you can always email me. My name is Dr. Selena Womack. I have my doctorates as a nurse practitioner. My office is located in Bushnell, Florida. I am currently accepting patients. The phone number is 352-677-2025. And if you have any other questions, you can always go to my website and you can just type in Preferred Direct Family Care, Bushnell, Florida, and my information will come up. I really appreciate you coming here and checking out my video and taking a tour of my practice, and I'm excited to see you in the next video. Have a great day.